I'm Jackie, and today's video is going to be probably a little challenging to get through, so please bear with me while today I share a story about my abortion that I had about 10-15 years ago. So I'm making this video for a few reasons. One, for myself, because this is something that I hid from most of my life, and that I've beat myself up for a really long time, and felt a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, and even had suicidal thoughts because of the trauma that it caused. And that being said, I would not do things differently. I would not have not had an abortion. I'm glad that I did. So thankful that I had that opportunity, because I can 100% say with 100% confidence that I wouldn't be where I am today, and not sure if I would even still be alive if I hadn't gotten an abortion. And then I also want to share this story for any other women who have had similar feelings that I have, the guilt, shame, and even fear for sharing. I mean, I'm legitimately fearful of sharing this because of people's judgment, and just not being able to empathize with somebody else's situation, and not being able to grasp that you have no idea what it's like to be in somebody's shoes. And if this doesn't affect you personally, then you need to stay out of what I do with my body. And anyone out there that feels like the abortion defines you, or that you're not worthy, or that you're a terrible person, that you're a murderer, that you don't deserve children, those are all things that I thought, that I really believed were true for a long time. And with a lot of therapy, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of work in general, I don't believe those things anymore, because they're not true. And honestly, over the years, the more I've talked about my abortion, the more I've realized how many women really have had them, and how different everyone's experience is. Not one story is exactly the same. Not everyone feels the same feelings. Some women are completely relieved. It's a weight off their shoulders, no trauma. It's just exactly what they needed. For other women, or even children, it's a really, really traumatic time. And not just the abortion itself, but all the things that come before it, during it, after it. It's a whole lot. So yeah, I just want to share my story. If it resonates with anyone out there, then I'll consider this a success. And before I dive into my story, I really want to share a quote, or actually two quotes, from Brene Brown. And the first one goes, "When we find the courage to share our experiences and the compassion to hear others tell their stories, we force shame out of hiding and end the silence." So even if you're watching this and maybe you have nothing, you've never had an abortion, you don't know anyone, or you don't think you know anyone with an abortion, anything that you feel shameful about, we've got to talk about our mental health. We've got to talk about all the difficult, challenging shit in order to figure out how to best heal ourselves from that trauma. And so then I'll go into the second quote from Brene. "If you put shame in a petri dish, it needs 3 ingredients to grow exponentially: secrecy, silence, and judgment. If you put the same amount of shame in a petri dish and douse it with empathy, it can't survive." And my God, do we need more empathy in this world? So if you are going to watch this video and send a bunch of hateful, judgmental comments, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in your opinion. And this world needs a lot more empathy and peace and love. So if you have that, please, I'd love to hear from you. But if not, don't waste your time. Don't waste mine. All right, so let's dive into the story. Holy shit. So I was a very young teenager. At the time, I felt like an adult, but I was not legally or mentally or emotionally. And at the time, I was in a relationship with my boyfriend. But then one day, I just started feeling really off. and my boobs were really swollen. It hurt. I was nauseous and I could barely eat. I just knew something was like really wrong with me, but I was kind of scared to, I don't know, I think deep down I knew before I like knew. But then one day when I was walking in Target, couldn't even tell you who I was with, I don't know. But I was just walking to some particular place in Target, and out of the corner of my eye, I noticed the baby section. And like when I turned around, I mean, it just like, it pulled me in. It was so bizarre. I remember this pretty clearly for it being so long ago, but I turned to look and it was a big shelf, or the big display of the tiniest little baby socks and baby shoes and like just the cutest, littlest pieces of clothing. And my heart sunk. In that moment, I was like, I think I'm pregnant. And I told my best friend at the time, who I really need to send a thank you to. You know, she really helped me through a very dark time. But I told her, somehow she got some pregnancy tests and came over to my house. This was a pretty shitty day. One of many shitty days around that time, but we went into my bathroom, and out of her purse, it was kind of like shoveled down, and she pulled out this brown bag with pregnancy tests in it. And I felt so disconnected. Like it was like I was experiencing so many emotions that I couldn't handle it. So I went from feeling all of the things to feeling like lifeless and numb. It kind of felt like I was above my body looking down at myself in this moment. And it was fucking awful. After I peed on it, I was sitting on my cold, hard bathroom floor, waiting for the results that I knew what they were gonna be. And sure enough, fucking pregnant. I think the next person I told was my boyfriend. And from what I remember, he had very little to say about it. Not much of an opinion of what, keep it, don't keep it. What are the other options? I don't know. So, I was already feeling really disconnected and feeling very alone all of a sudden. But thank God that my best friend at the time was so supportive. Like I really don't know what I would have done without her. But she had this idea. She actually knew this much older couple. I guess they were having trouble conceiving a baby, and she thought it'd be the perfect fit. So I met with a couple and her, and they basically said they wanted to adopt my baby to be. And at the time I was really optimistic and like, okay, this is an option. There's light at the end of the tunnel. But it's a weird thing. It was very different, but also similar, being pregnant then versus being pregnant a couple of years ago, which I do now have a beautiful baby boy that I'm so thankful for and would not have if it wasn't for this abortion. But from a very young age, I really loved my baby dolls. I took care of them. My parents always said that I was such a good mom to my baby dolls. And, I just had that instinct that, some women have. It was like, I'm going to be a mother, and I can't wait for it. Clearly, I couldn't wait for it. But I loved the shit out of that group of cells. Like, I knew it wasn't a baby yet. But just knowing that I had that potential of maybe having a baby was like incredible, but terrifying because I was a child myself. I was a freaking mess. You know, just the hormones that I was experiencing just being a teenager. I didn't know anything about raising kids. I had like had a couple of like part-time jobs, you know, the jobs you can get as a kid. So I had like no money to my name. There's no way I could have comprehended. I couldn't comprehend what it would be like to even be pregnant. Not to be a mom, but to even be pregnant. You know, I was pregnant there for a little bit. But you know, every day is different and new. And you know, I wasn't showing, of course. But I had no freaking idea. So I remember trying, you know, throughout all this, trying to get some kind of answer from the boyfriend I had at the time. And I never got one. He never said what he wanted to do. And I'm just like, I'm still so pissed that he didn't have to make a decision, but we both made the same mistake. But I was the one who had to deal with the weight of that decision and then the trauma that went into that decision. Like, either way, even if I didn't have an abortion, like, it was me who was going to have to be pregnant for 9 months. It was me who was going to have to nurse the child and, you know, dealing with all the other stuff, going to all the doctor's appointments, getting probed, getting ultrasounds, throwing up every day, not being able to eat, being in pain, my boobs being in pain, my everything being in pain. So yeah, that still like pisses me off to this day. So any of you guys out there who are angry as well, that you know, if you are having sex because sex is great, that's what we're meant to do, but you didn't want to have a kid, then, and you're angry at that person because they don't share that responsibility, I'm fucking with you. We made an appointment in, I believe, Dallas on Good Friday. So unfortunately, every Good Friday for 10 plus years, I was haunted. And I think that day was just worse than all the other days. I'm pretty sure I thought about that abortion multiple times a day, every single day for over a decade. It fucked me up. But anyway, that day seemed to be worse than all the other days. So it sucks that I had an abortion on the day that, on a holiday, so it's memorable. There was nothing good about that Friday. This is the Friday from fucking hell. One of the worst days, probably the worst day of my entire life. And I remember turning the corner, getting a little closer and seeing like a ton of people protesting with big signs, you know, saying, "You're a murderer," and pro-life, and like pictures of little tiny fetuses and blood and like just like some gruesome, angry signs. I was so pissed off of the hate that they were spreading, and like, you could be using that time, the time that you're using right now to judge another woman for making a choice about her body, because that fetus can't survive without the woman's body, so it's part of your body. Hey, if you could take that fetus out and it survives, somebody take care of it. Great. I'm not going to be pregnant for that long if I don't want to be. So I was angry that they could use their time better. Like, why aren't you, so the women that are keeping their children or are keeping babies or, you know, continuing with the pregnancy, there's so many women who need rides from their house to the hospital for doctor's visits. They need diapers and food and so many things. Like, you could be helping the children that are in foster care. There's so many things that these people could be doing better with their time. And I also I wanted to tell them, like, you know, I didn't just make this decision this morning, right? Like, most people who have an abortion scheduled have thought pretty long and hard about it, or are very confident in their decision. And I would love to know the percentage, but it's got to be low, like super low, if anything at all, for women who see protester and are like, you know what? Never mind. I'm not going to get an abortion because of that sign that says I'm a murderer. A lot of those women are already like, yeah, I'm a fucking murderer. Thanks for the reminder. Or like, no, I'm not a murderer. So those protesters are stupid. Okay, maybe not stupid. That's not kind. Not empathetic towards the women getting abortions. And I'm sick to my stomach because of the pregnancy, but also sick to my stomach because this is a big freaking deal and is scary and is something that I never imagined was going to happen to me. And we walk into this room full of people. It's eerily quiet. It seems like a huge room. And I feel like we waited forever. I don't know if it was really 5 minutes or 5 hours, but felt like forever. And we got called back finally, sat with a nurse in a checkup room. You know, she took all my vitals and stuff. And I remember her being really, really warm and friendly and making small talk. And she definitely made me feel a little bit more at ease. So anyway, then they take me into the procedure room. And I think it was my first time, like I cringe. Like it's still really hard for me when I go to the gynecologist and have to put my feet up in those stirrups and like, you know, widen those legs. I mean, every time I cringe and I like my knees knock together automatically and I have to like breathe through opening them because of this traumatic day. So I laid back with my legs spread. I was given some like laughing gas or whatever, you know, not knocked out cold, but still awake, but just not feeling anything. But oh God, there was a male doctor doing the procedure, and then I think pretty sure two female nurses on either side, and they just seemed like at the time it wasn't funny, but at the time, at the time it wasn't funny. Now it is that they were just so like, okay, you know, it's like I'm at the dentist, you know, have you been flossing? Like they're just like doing their thing, talking about their days, just like so chill about it. And I'm like, this is freaking traumatic. But so, you know, I couldn't feel any pain, but I felt inside of me the scraping along the sides or the inside of my uterus or wherever. And like, if that's still like, I just got shivers because it was such a like, whew. I can't even explain like how terrible that was and how clear it is in my memory. And yeah, so that part was really awful. And then I got taken into a room full of a bunch of other women who had just gotten their abortions. And you know, it's like a bunch of pedicure chairs in a nail salon. You know, I'm just sitting there with a bunch of other girls and women, and they offered me snacks I couldn't eat. And I almost threw up. But then I had to go to the bathroom. I remember a lot of blood. And man, it's weird. I've been talking about this more lately, and I'm able to like talk about it with friends and not get super emotional. But it was a sad day. It was really fucking hard. You know, I wanted so bad to be a mom, but I wasn't ready for it. I definitely wasn't ready to be pregnant either. And I was also like under 100 pounds and like tiny and had the hips of a 10-year-old boy or 10-year-old girl. I guess they're all the same. yeah, it really sucked. It was emotional. It was a loss for me. A huge loss. I was heartbroken. Um, I wasn't so just this one piece of this day. I'm heartbroken that I've lost this thing that could have been a baby. I nobody talked about this stuff back then, and so um I felt very alone. I couldn't talk to friends about it. I couldn't talk to my parents about it because I wasn't supposed to be having sex. And I couldn't even talk to my boyfriend about it because he didn't want anything to do with me. And so I left there feeling empty inside. They hadn't just scraped out the cells, but with those cells went my happiness and really all the good feelings. Um, and from that day forward, I labeled myself as a bad person. Not just a bad person, like a terrible, awful person. Like morally speaking, that I, did this to a baby to be, and then, shame about even getting pregnant and even having sex. Shame that I disappointed my parents, that I broke rules. And so this Good Friday somehow got even worse. That was a terrible start to the day. Um, and I get to the party and, so desperate for support from my boyfriend. Um, and I walked in, I was late. And this doesn't have, I guess it does have to do with the abortion. It doesn't, but I don't know. It's always like it left me feeling very unsettled and actually kind of led to a lot of like feelings of unworthiness. And, it's not on them, it's stuff that I've got to work through and have done a lot of work through. But yeah, so I got there late and I saw him before he saw me. He was by the pool flirting, and I went through my head like, no, it's not flirting, they're just talking. Flirting with this gorgeous girl who was actually like kind of a friend of mine, just as much of a friend of mine as she was a friend of his. And they were just like, it was like they were the only two in the room, they or in that space. And my stomach just like, I'm like, how can my stomach keep dropping? Like, isn't it gone at this point? Like, how do I feel even shittier than I already feel? How is this fucking possible? But it was. And, didn't, I felt so, I had so much social anxiety. Like, nobody at that party knew what I had been through that day. And I had to just smile, that fake ass smile, and pretend everything was great or not a pile of steaming shit. And I feel like that was the worst part, was just pretending everything was okay when it was so far from okay. And what I really needed was just to cry and be heard and seen and just, be listened to about how terrible my day was. But then, at the end of when I was finally leaving, I remember he gave me this like lifeless hug and said, I'm sorry for whatever I did wrong. And like, what the fuck? And so fast forward, we break up, or he breaks up with me. And then he starts dating that girl. So my intuition is like, it's pretty good sometimes. Um, yeah, so then they started dating right after. Never said anything really about the abortion. I'm still really angry about it. And like, I want to reiterate this if I didn't, or maybe say it for the first time, but like, My abortion was not a mistake. I would not do anything differently. Having unprotected sex was a mistake that not just I made, that my boyfriend at the time made equally with me. And I think I also have just so much anger that women hold such a heavy weight of unplanned pregnancies. And it's just not fair. And so from that day on, for the last several years, I can't tell you how many conversations I've been part of or have overheard about abortions and people being murderers and selfish, and you can adopt, or there's other ways, or oh my gosh, I can't believe people get pregnant. Like, how can you be so irresponsible? When I'd like to point out that not one contraception is 100% protective. There are many people who still get pregnant with the use of birth control or a condom, or some other contraceptions. Like, the only way to not 100% not is like not have sex, or like get a vasectomy, or your tubes tied. Like, people get pregnant on the pill all the time. But for all those conversations, I had to just like shut my mouth, and like the words were just like bubbling inside of me and like wanting to come out. And like, I got really emotional, but had to pretend like I wasn't phased, because I was terrified of anybody finding out that I had an abortion at such a young age. People already, I had people call me a slut, even though I only slept with my boyfriends. And life was hard enough. I already felt like an outsider in so many ways that there's no way I was letting people know that I was different in this way, especially something that's so controversial. So I never talked about it. Therapy wasn't a big thing back then. And even if it was, like, I didn't know that I needed it. I thought the healthiest thing to do was just pretend like it didn't happen and move on. But I didn't move on because it was unresolved, and the negative self-talk just got worse and worse and worse over the years. And it got really bad when I got pregnant with my husband. We were so excited. I was thrilled to be pregnant. I mean, I literally jumped up and down. Like, I squealed. I was so excited to be pregnant. And it was a really hard pregnancy. I lost a ton of weight in the first trimester. I was nauseous. I couldn't eat anything. I had shooting pains. My boobs were like really painful. Like, it was not an easy pregnancy. But my baby is everything to me. I love him so incredibly much. But during the pregnancy, I had some really dark thoughts, and told myself I didn't deserve this. Something bad was going to happen because I wasn't worthy of a second chance at pregnancy, and I just didn't deserve to be a mom, or I wasn't going to be a good mom. I don't know what I'm doing. All these things that just aren't true, but I believed were. This video could be like 24 hours long if I let it keep going. So I'm gonna try to sum it up really quick. And I took a few notes beforehand, things that I wanted to make sure I mentioned. One of those is the stat that 1 out of every 4 women have an abortion. So that's a lot of people. 1 out of every 4 women. Women just don't talk about it because people are judgy assholes. And also other reasons, not everyone likes to share their business. This is something really interesting. I watched a TED Talk on YouTube from Amanda Bradley, and she said that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but she said that if you use the most effective contraception as perfectly as possible for every one of the estimated 520 menstrual cycles in your lifetime, there is still a chance that you can get pregnant. 520 chances in your lifetime. And that's a lot. And she also said, we act like fertility is a switch we can turn on or off. It's not that simple. And we should have the right to choose what happens to our bodies. I should have the choice to decide if I want to be pregnant or not. Pregnancy is a very long experience. For some of us, myself, because I have been pregnant for 9 months, and I would not wish that on anybody who does not want to be pregnant. Okay, well, I could go on and on, but I'm gonna cut this off. But again, for anyone watching, if you feel lonely or scared or unworthy or not enough, or you're judging yourself, like please, please, please know, like every one of us as humans, every single person makes mistakes. You are still a worthy human being, and you have every right to your own body. And I am still scared shitless to share this story because I don't know who's gonna still stay around in my life after they hear this. But I'm finally to the point where my drive, my passion to help even one other woman dealing with an abortion or any stress around reproductive rights, like my passion to help other people who are suffering is far greater than my fear of being judged or ostracized. I'm still a good human being, and so are you. So thank you so very much for listening. If you've made it this far, if you have any comments, questions, like comment down below, subscribe. I'd be happy to make more videos talking about more details of my experience. Anything to help you guys out. I'm here for it. So sending you all of my love. Namaste.